I'm very glad to have y'all with us tonight. This is Rick, your friendly neighborhood host down in Austin, Texas. I have a great privilege tonight to introduce the person that actually brought my wife and I into this business. And the presentation that we watched when we got started, I remember sitting there in my living room with that VHS tape at the time, sitting on a great big, remember back in the day, guys, when if you had a stereo, you didn't have the cool little speakers. It was cool to have giant speakers. And if you were ever in the military, you know what giant speakers in the barracks look like. So I had my 8-foot speakers that everybody had in the barracks. And I remember it sitting there, and I had the speakers all wired into my TV. So I watched Dennis in surround sound before it was sophisticated. So I remember watching it like yesterday. I remember putting the video in, and I actually put it in because I was going to make a list of all the reasons that Nikken didn't work so that I could blow up the person that gave it to me. I watched it just so I could take it apart. And I remember sitting there, and I was so blown away, not only by the incredible, handsome man that I saw with the velvety voice, but the information was so fantastic. It literally changed our life. It changed the life of us, our family, our children, more ways than I can tell you. And Dennis's presentations literally launched the first wave of Nikken North America. There's not a person in Nikken, and I'm not saying this lightly, that has brought more people directly into Nikken, and I think Dave would agree with this, than Dennis and Ruth Williams directly. And in the new era of Nikken, Dennis and Ruth are doing incredible things. They have more quality enrolled legs than any other person in Nikken, guys. They are #1 in terms of personally doing the work. So I got to take my hat off to you guys for all you're doing, for all you've done, for all you will do. We are honored to be in your organization. You guys are dear to us in ways that I always jokingly say you're just like family, except we actually really like you. So that's really a cool thing. We don't just love you, and it's a great thing. So if Helen of Troy was the face that launched 1,000 chips, Dennis of Seattle is the voice that launched 1,000 healthy millionaires. So Dennis and Ruth Williams, all the way from Seattle, will you share with us tonight a story that not only has changed your life, but you're so good at telling the story that can change other people's lives. So I'm going to make you the co-host, and I'm going to sit back and listen and soak it in and love it. Dennis Williams, you've got the ball, my friend.
Thank you, Rick.
You bet. Your video spotlighted. You look a whole lot better than me, so there you go.
Okay. Can you see it? There we go. Anyway, when Rick asked me a week or so ago to share something here tonight, he said a lot of people haven't heard your story. And I thought, well, most people think our story is I was working at the Ford dealership when somebody kept bugging me for 6 months, and Ruth and I bugging us, and we didn't pay attention. And then finally, my sister got results. We talked to Dave and so forth, and then eventually, you know, started out in the business. But there's more to our story than that. And I thought about how about just some regular folks born in regular families that follow the advice to go to school, get a degree, you know, create a resume, pass it around, get a job with a good company, work your way up, and hopefully retire and live happily ever after. I thought, well, that's kind of what a lot of people do, and that's what we did. But we discovered something in that process, this tremendous opportunity with Nikken. And so this presentation may be more than you even want to know about it. But anyway, I thought I'd just run through it with you and show it to you. And the last part of it is kind of our Nikken, what's happening with Nikken. And I just want to let you know that what I'm going to show you there toward the end is not meant to impress anybody with what we've been able to accomplish and do. But simply to impress upon you that this is a serious business, and give anyone the opportunity to come from whatever background you are and to be able to not only change your lives, but the lives of thousands of other people all over the world, because you never know where your influence will end. So we'll go ahead and start out right from the beginning here, and literally from the beginning. I was born in Monte, North Dakota, and a long time ago, and my dad was an auditor for an oil company back then, and my mom was a school teacher. And I was ready to work right from the get-go there. And Ruth was also ready to work. She was out feeding chickens as a little girl. And she was born on a farm up in Okanagan, Washington, up north central Washington. And she started riding horses at an early age, as you can see. And here I am again, ready to play a little bit with one of my little friends out there in the gravel. And we moved to Bismarck, North Dakota, and I think I was just pretending to read the paper. I doubt if I could really read anything at that age. And here's Ruth and her family, her mom and dad, her 3 younger brothers up there in Okanagan, Washington. And Ruth raised sheep for 4-H out there on that farm. And this is my high school graduation picture, and then this is Ruth's graduation picture. Isn't she beautiful? It's kind of tattered and worn because I packed it around in my wallet the whole time we were dating before we got married, and that's kind of how I got scuffed up a little bit. And this is my family, my mom and dad, and my 2 sisters, my brother. My younger brother died at age 34, unfortunately, when I was 37, and my dad passed away at only 51. And my mom lived till 82, and my 2 sisters there, the one in the lower part, that's my sister Lynn, and she's a retired school teacher, and Karen is the other young lady, and she's a retired nurse, and she's the one that really got results with the back flex that really kind of got our attention in Nikken when we started. And I loved to hunt, and when I was in high school, I went hunting a lot of time, and we were pretty successful at it, as you can see right there with one of my buddies. And there's where I met Ruth, in college at Washington State University. She was a sophomore over there, and I was a junior. I went to community college for a couple of years in Yakima, and I met that beautiful lady right there. And this is our wedding, and my mom and dad. Ruth's father's not there, unfortunately, because he passed away in an accident on the farm when she was a teenager. And then my dad let me use the '63 Dodge Dart to go off on our honeymoon with. And here we are in our first home. After we got married, we came back to Yakima, and my '55 Ford there, and we lived in that apartment, and I worked in some warehouses and the seed cleaning plant, and I think Ruth worked in the drugstore. We just worked to make a little money before we went back to college. Then we hooked up the old U-Haul and headed off to WSU, and this was our apartment up above the garage there on C Street there in Pullman, Washington. And I was a musician. I had some couple guitars, and I still have that concert amp on the left. I have my Jazzmaster guitar on the right, but unfortunately I sold my white Telecaster years ago. I wish I still had that, because it'd be worth a fortune today. I had a band in high school called the Echoes. We played in that, and then here's the band I had when I was at community college called the Intruders. And then when I went to Washington State, we had another group called the Night People, and we drove around in a '49 Cadillac hearse, and I had a lot of fun and playing in that band and playing all over University of Idaho and Washington State. Joined the National Guard in 1966, spent 6 years doing that. And this is our first son, our little chubby Matt there, as you can see. And then when my first job at Del Monte Foods was as a production control supervisor in the can manufacturing plant in Toppenish, Washington. And that was a very stressful job. That's what turned my hair white. As a young kid out of college with that very stressful job, trying to be in charge of all the production for the Northwest Division of Del Monte Foods of all their containers. But anyway, eventually, because I got a degree in agronomy and field crop management, we got moved out to the ranch, and we're on a peach orchard, and there's me and Matt on the tractor. And one of the advantages of working for Del Monte is we got some good buys on canned goods, and some of them had dents in them and stuff, but they let us have them pretty cheap. And that's our little second son, Alex, there with me. And here's our 3 biological kids, Matt and Alex and little Sarah. And in 1975, my brother had joined Shackley, and this was the only other network marketing company we've ever been in. And we joined Shackley. And a year later, we discovered it was pretty fun being independent and being an entrepreneur. And we decided that we'd had enough of the drama and the corporate world and all the stuff that went along with that. So I quit Del Monte. And Ruth and I started our business with Shackley, and we had a lot of great trips. We earned 8 bonus cars with that company in a 10-year period of time. That was our full-time career. But what was frustrating to us is none of our people ever really became successful. Nobody went to the conventions with us on our team, and nobody ever earned any cars. And it was just it was kind of discouraging to us. And this is our family in 1980. Everybody's growing up a little bit. And here's one of our bonus cars. You can see the license plate says bonus on it. And I had an old Cadillac, and they were and that. And then I was a square dance caller as a hobby. From 1974 to 95, I taught lessons during the week and called dances every weekend all over the Northwest, up into Canada and so forth, and really enjoyed that. I called for the largest club in the state of Washington, out in Kennewick, Washington, the Prairie Shufflers. And then I called for another club, the Wagon Wheelers, there for about 16 years, I guess. I'd also called things for special events for churches and youth groups. And here's one I'm calling for a bunch of deaf children, and they couldn't really hear me, but I guess they could feel the vibrations, and that lady was signing what I was saying. So it worked out. They did an awesome job of dancing. and also made a record. And it was sold nationally. And this was a picture that was on the cover of my record envelope there. And then this is my call on my last square dance in 1995 here at the Wagon Wheelers Club. And there we are saying goodbye after 20 years of calling square dances. And this is where I worked from 1987 to 92 when we left to start our Nikken business at Valley Ford dealership. And that was a very stressful job and a straight commission. Worked 7 days a week a lot of times and late hours. And if I didn't take, I felt guilty if I didn't take my days off. I felt guilty because if I was home, I felt guilty because I wasn't at work. And if I was at work, I felt guilty because I wasn't at home. And, you could be the salesman of the month, which, I was oftentimes, but then you go from hero to zero at the beginning of the next month. So anyway, but that's where it all started. That's where Dave Johnson and another guy came walking in to tell me about Nikken for the first time and kept bugging me for 6 months. And this is where it all started with Nikken for us in December 1991 in this old farmhouse out here in Tampico, Washington, about 23 miles out of Yakima on the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. And we really loved it out there. It was a nice place. It snowed a lot. And the snow, in fact, got pretty deep sometimes. In fact, and the house didn't have much insulation in it. So I kind of jokingly say sometimes if you didn't have enough room in the refrigerator, you just put stuff in the cupboard because it was about the same temperature. And the snow got pretty deep. In fact, it got so deep in the garage one time that Ruth had to go up there and shovel it off. I was holding the ladder for her, but so I was doing something, but she was doing the hard work up there, getting that snow off that roof of the garage. This is our first Nikken bonus car, a 94 Lincoln Mark 8. I love that car. My son-in-law has it now. But see the license plate, YB Hurton, and a lot of you know that's our website, ybhurton.biz, and YB Hurton's in an email that we have and so forth. And then when our daughter was about 17 or so, I guess Ruth thought it was going to be a little too quiet around the house, so she applied for a foster baby, and we got this lovely little daughter on the right-hand side here out of the Whitney when she was 3 days old as a foster baby. And then fortunately, we were able to adopt her. And then our little daughter, a Native American daughter, Chas, came into our life when she was about 2. And we just loved the heck out of them. And they were about 3 and 4 when we were introduced to Nikken. And they've grown up pretty good. Here in 2008, here they are. And a couple of years after this, both of them got married that same summer, about a month apart. And then we also had what we call a sorta son. Some people say, what's a sorta son? Well, this young man was a friend of our family. His family was a friend of ours, and his dad unfortunately left left the family. His mother was working 3 jobs and had a lot of other kids at home, and Michael was struggling in school and having a hard time, and his teacher told him that he was stupid and would never amount to anything. And so Ruth and his mom went to the school and heard him say that, and we said, get him out of here. So Ruth took him out of school and brought him to our home. He lived with us during the week and went home to his parents on the weekend. And Ruth homeschooled him and got him all caught up and everything, and he just became like our son because our boys were already out of the house. And so we call him our sort of son. He still sends me Father's Day cards, and I'm Papa Dennis, and Ruth is Granny Ruth. And anyway, he really did amount to a lot. Here he is. He's got a very successful businessman today. He's in the Eastern Washington. He has a business where he supplies all the dairymen, pretty much Eastern Washington, with all their supplies. And he's got 7 sort of grandkids, and here's a beautiful shot of them. And there's our 3 daughters. Our biological daughter on the right, that's Sarah. And then our 2 adopted daughters, and the one in the middle, Chas, that was at her wedding reception out in our front yard there on Vashon. There's our grandkids on the left, it's Sarah's kids, and on the right, our little Elena. That's our youngest daughter, our youngest adopted daughter's daughter. So wonderful, wonderful grandkids. Unfortunately, they all live close to us. And there's our first Nikken home on Vashon Island. This is a home that Nikken made the down payment for us. They made the payments for it every month. This is where we made Royal Diamond. This is where we made Royal Ambassador in that home here on Vashon Island, on the north end of Vashon. And then we decided in 1998 to take a little Nikken tour. So we purchased this 37-foot diesel pusher with a washer and dryer in it and everything, and hooked the vehicle on the back. And we took our 2 girls that were about 10 and 11 or so, and Ruth was homeschooling them. We picked up and headed south on the 2nd of January down the coastline to California. And then we did meetings along the way. Ruth had it all set up, and there's nothing where we had to really hurry, but we would just do the meetings and move along, do the meetings and move along, and just kept doing that. And during the sites, and we studied the Alamo and take the girls to the Alamo in Texas. And we went across all the way clear over to Florida and stopped in Miami, and a bunch of our friends flew in, and we got on a cruise ship, and we're gone out on a cruise for a week. And then we came back and went up to Orlando and spent a week there with our girls at Disney World, and went on up to Nashville, the Grand Ole Opry, and so forth. And coming back, I remember stopping at Carlsbad Caverns and we just had a great time traveling and sharing Nikken, and it was a business trip the whole way because all of our fuel and food and RV parks and everything was a business deduction there for us, and it was just so fun. We drove 11,000 miles. We went 21 different states, and we were gone for 3 months. And the wonderful part about the freedom that Nikken provides us and the leverage that we have is we had one part-time employee at home to open our mail and pay the bills. And that was it. And we came home after being gone for 3 months and found out we'd earned a high 6-figure income while we were gone for those 3 months. It's pretty amazing. And then if you don't know where Vashon Island is, that's that island right here in the middle. And this is Seattle up here in Tacoma, and Vashon Island is here. It's only accessible by ferry boat from either here or down here in the south. And there's we called it life in the slow lane, and that's really a beautiful spot. And then we built our new home. We bought some property on the south end, and we ended up having about 30 acres down here, and that's where we built our Nikken home. And Ruth designed this, and she designed the whole thing and landscaped everything. She did all that planning and building and everything when we built. So that some of you got to come here when we lived there. And then this is the side facing the water. And this down here we had a game room, and this is our girls' bedrooms here. And then this is a family guest room over here. And then up here in these 2 windows, that was our Royal Diamond Suite. Our Royal Diamond Suite. Hotels have their presidential suites, well, that was a Royal Diamond Suite. And then our kitchen was here with a big 2-story living room, and our bedroom was over here. And Ruth's office was down here, and then we had our jacuzzi tub up here and so forth. So anyway, that was the side facing the water. And we had some, here's an aerial view of it, and that's the home. And then over here, that was Ruth's garden. You can see all the row crops she had. Big family garden over here, and another home over here. A lot of our family members lived, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful spot, about 500 feet above the water. And this is from our balcony on our bedroom. Early in the morning, the sunrise, and we had some awfully nice sunrise pictures out here. And in the evening, when the sun would set behind us, that was Mount Rainier, and the sun would reflect off of it and turn it pink. Excuse me. Anyway, right inside the front door, there was this water statue. Excuse me. You might have seen that picture of that tower that's kind of spiraled up. This is right inside the front door. And this was here, and it had a reservoir downstairs. You flip the switch over here on the wall, and it would pump water up and then come cascading down, and sound like a mountain stream. You can see how that's into those little troughs there that went down and then recycled up. And here's what it looked like looking up in the tower, and then here's what it looked like looking down. So it was a long ways up there. We had kind of an outdoor balcony up on the top. You could go out and just oversee the whole Northwest. And then this is Ruth's main kitchen here, and we ate our meals over here on the right side. And this is our dining room. We had a dishwasher built into the sink over here as well, just right off the kitchen. This exercise room where we had an infrared sauna and so forth upstairs, right next to our bedroom. And this is the jacuzzi, and the view from up there up on top. And it's just like looking through those windows was like looking at a picture frame. In fact, the one on the right, if you look through this straight on, Mount Rainier was framed right in there. And then we had a Royal Diamond Suite, and Ruth bought this bed. It was kind of a ornate, a royalty looking bed, and it was pretty cool. And then in the bathroom, she had them build the toilet up on a little pedestal up like this. So it was like a throne, and we used to tell people that was our royal flush when they came in there. That was our royal flush. And then we had some nice water features outside. This is one that our son-in-law built. That was working for us. He was our property manager. We had a few employees there, and he built that. And then he built another one here with Ruth's help right outside the front door. When you walked up, you had this nice mountain stream running right by the front door. And then this is a fire pit that John made for us, and made these Adirondack chairs, and right out by the flagpole, right out by the edge of the. And this is one of our favorite rooms downstairs. This was our 50s room, and these were fiber optic lights around here that changed colors, and it was kind of like a 50s diner. And then these stools came from the 50s diner on Route 66. And then the stove is quite a story on that. Ruth was able to find that. It's a story on itself, but some older gentleman bought this for his wife in 1950, and she apparently didn't want a red stove, and so he bought her a different stove and left this one in the carton in his garage for over 50 years, and Ruth was able to buy that. and it had never been plugged in. We just had to, all we had to do is get a new pigtail for the current 220 configuration, and we had a lot of fun down here. In fact, we used to have the kids over from church and singing karaoke and stuff. We had a lot of fun with that. We had a lot of great Nikken functions here too. There's a whole bunch of our folks down there. One time we had a dinner down here. We had 100 people for a sit-down dinner inside. And then one summer in August, Kurt Foley and his wife Sue came up, and we had our meeting in here. We had chairs all set up. We had a lot of people, and then we ate outside on the lawn. And our son-in-law was a great chef, and he prepared all the food and had it all set up so we just walk through the house and pick up our food. And it was pretty awesome. And then this is Dr. Naidu. A lot of you recognize him. And he grew up as an orphan, and so he kind of adopted Ruth as his sister. And he would call out and say, "How's my sister?" And I said, "Well, I go get her for you, Doc." And he spent a lot of time at our home. He was our guest several times, and sometimes he brought his sons with him. You can see Suresh and Tejas here, and they looked pretty young back then, weren't they? And he would cook food for all of us, and it was so hot we could hardly eat it sometimes. But he just loved to cook, and and his boys would eating there and stuff, and we just had a great time having Dr. Naidu at our home, one of our guests. And then we had a lot of fun with our team. When we made Royal Diamond, we took all of our diamonds to Hawaii with us, and it was really a great time. And here's a trip to Japan, and some of you know Chuck and Claudia Branham, and this is Chuck, and he had these goofy glasses that he bought over there that just made him look silly. And then he used to tell us that he never did a rollout. He prided himself, he'd never done a Nikken rollout, because if he bent over like that, he would throw up. Maybe that's why he wore this shirt that says "Up Chuck" up there. I don't know. But anyway, we love Chuck and Claudia and all of our team members. But this is just one picture I happen to remember from Japan. And we met Mr. Masuda over there. I remember going down a reception line and talking to him through an interpreter. And he said, "Oh, Mr. Williams," he said, I saw your video and I liked it. And that was that video that Rick was talking about, I think, way back in the beginning. Then we had this wall of fame outside of my office downstairs, and people would come to our home and work on something, the elevator or the heating system or something. And they typically stop and look at this and say, "Well, who are all these people? They don't look like grandkids." So we had them on a different wall, and said, "Well, it's just a few of our friends who've helped become millionaires." And they often stop and say, "Well, can I be your friend?" Hey, why not? Come use more friends. And it was fun to say that to them. And then this is the last picture. We had one frame that said, "Who is next?" So we get more pictures up there. And then this was our living room. And Nikken decided one day when they were going to introduce a new sleep system that they wanted to make a video in our home for some reason. And so we thought, okay, that's fine. They're going to bring a little video camera up and take a picture or something in our living room. Well, we didn't know, but a big box truck came driving up, and all of a sudden they unloaded all this stuff. And look at that. I mean, it looks like a production studio in some Hollywood deal. And they even bought a bed and even hired an actor and an actress from California to fly all the way up here just to lay on that bed. And if you saw that sleep video, you saw these people and you saw the scenery. But it was our living room that they turned into this temporary bedroom. It was kind of cool. We had a pond out in back. We're supposed to have one to catch the runoff from the roof of the house. So we made a nice pond, and John built that dock and so on. And we also, there's the yard that Ruth landscaped, and she planned all this and planted all those plants, and we had a sport court out there and so forth. And then we had an indoor pool, and there's a saltwater pool, and John and Ruth designed this. And when you turn on the water to come down the slide, it also came down, cascaded down these waterfalls on both sides. It was awesome. Banana trees growing in here and so forth. It was just really a neat thing. And looking down here, there were 10 sliding glass doors around here that opened up, and in the ceiling there were 6 panels that had motors on them, and they would retract, and so you'd almost like be in an outdoor pool. We had a lot of fun, a lot of Nikken events, a lot of youth events here from church and so forth, and really enjoyed that. And we had an eagle landed in the yard one day, and I wanted to take a picture. And just as I was taking a picture, he took off, but I got the tail end of him, flare it out there, taking off or taking flight. And then there's one of our Nikken cars, and you can see my license plate has changed from Why Be Hurtin' to Expect to Win. That's what that is. That's a reflection of my attitude. That's when people ask what that was. I said, that's just a reflection of my attitude. And cruise ships, we've probably taken, 12, 15 cruises with our Nikken family over the years. This one was particularly memorable because it was the Disney cruise, the Disney Magic. And there's the girls, and that's, and Ruth having dinner there. And then in 2005, when our daughter right here graduated from high school, Ruth and the girls took backpacks and went to Europe for 6 weeks, riding around on a train, a first-class train all over Europe. And the girls will never forget that experience of doing that. It was just such an awesome, memorable thing for them to do. And then, I travel all over the place. Here I am in Australia, the pet kangaroo. And picture was taken in southern Japan. And this is actually barley grass for jay green's eyes. And they were harvesting that. And this is Ruth sitting on the harvester and feeling right at home, like she's back on the farm again. And then we went to several places in Hawaii and all the islands over the years and so forth. That's just one of the pictures there. And then in 1 year, the Confederate Air Force landed 2 bombers, World War II bombers at Boeing Field. One of them was a B-17 and then this B-24 Liberator. And if you donated some money, you can ride in it. So I donated some money and said, I want to ride in that B-24. So I went out there, and there was no door to get in. I had to crawl up through the bomb bay and get inside of it. And then that thing started wrapping those big engines up and roaring down the runway. And we got into the air, and then I wanted to go up to the front of the plane, so I had to crawl through it. And I was crawling down this little trackway here, this little gangway. And they said, be sure you stay on that. Don't step off, because these are bomb doors and they're spring loaded. If you step on those, you'll be ejected from the bottom of the plane. I don't want to do that. So I was very careful to stay on that catwalk. And then this is the Bombardier's view looking out. And then here's the nose gunner position up on top. And there it is in flight. And it was just a great experience to be able to come out and fly in that B-24. And then 1997, we bought a ranch up in north central Washington on the south end of Palmer Lake, 1,800 acres. This is the farmhouse that we had up there, and Ruth's brother and his family lived in it and managed it around the ranch. And we'd go up there about 4 times a year and play in the wintertime in the snowmobile, and then just riding horses and having fun, fishing and playing in the lake and so forth. And there's Ruth and her brother on a tractor. And some of our horses, we had quarter horses. We had about 400 cows and a bunch of 20-some bulls. And we were moving cows around, kind of like being in a Western movie, moving cows around up there. And we had about 60,000 acres of grazing land, of rural land management land up between us and Canada that we roamed the cattle around on the summertime. And then there's me just sitting on Pierre, is the horse I always rode when I was up there. And then we got rid of that big motorhome and got this one a little bit smaller, 32-foot with a couple of slide outs. And we go camping every summer. We go camping with our family, all of our kids. And we'd go during the week when everybody else was at work. And that was a great time, because we'd be driving up there and everybody else would be coming home, and we'd be going up there to go camping when they had all left already. And we just really enjoyed doing that. And then there's one of our camping trips. We did a little hike up Mount Rainier, just a beautiful, beautiful place in Washington State. And then in our 70s, we decided it's time for another chapter in our life. And so we sold all that property on Vashon. And this is the home that we live in here in beautiful little Gig Harbor. This is our view looking out over the harbor. Quaint little village, beautiful, quiet little town, one of the nicest places anybody could ever hope to live. And that's where we live today. And so a lot of people, especially when I travel, they say, what's your favorite product? And they think I'm going to say, well, the sleep system or mag steps, M strides, or whatever it is. But my favorite product has always been this. It's always been freedom. And what that means to us is the ability to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, help wherever you want to help, and never have to ask yourself, do I have the time or the money? That is true freedom. And a lot of you seen this picture, the cash flow quadrant. It comes from the book by the same name by Robert Kiyosaki. And everybody in their work life falls into one of these 4 quadrants here. Typically, most people are in the employee pack. 95% of the population will find themselves on the left-hand side, they only control about 5% of the money. On the right-hand side, only about 5% of the population is over here, but they control about 95% of the money. So it's a completely different thing over there. And in this employee thing, you have a job, you're trading time for money. You all know that. And people's jobs are really only as secure as the emotions of their employer. And sometimes that isn't saying a whole lot. And you probably never become financially independent unless you're a professional athlete or something in a job. And then down here, you own a job, self-employed. A lot of people, they're the last ones to get paid if they own a business, and most small businesses don't make it after the first few years. And so it's a tough thing. It's still trading time for money, typically managing a bunch of teenagers or whatever they're doing. And then over here on the right side, investing. Now that's where a lot of money can be made, but it takes money to start. So you got to have money to make money. Then up here in the top, you own the system, and people work with and for you. And this is using leverage of people and dollars and so forth. And this is where McDonald's is, for example. A lot of people think McDonald's is a hamburger business. But in reality, they're in a real estate business is what they really have. And, because what they do is they rent those franchises out, lease those franchises out to the franchise owner, and the franchise owner, they use that money that they pay McDonald's to buy that piece of property. So McDonald's owns about 36,000 properties valued about $30 billion on 119 different countries on 6 different continents. And they're one of the biggest real estate owners in the world. And so this is where we are in Nikken, up here in this upper right-hand quadrant, owning a system where people work with and for us and create this tremendous leverage that we have. And then the question is, why not? Why not? The Phoenix Suns, I don't know if they still have it there, but they used to have this sign in their locker room. The game is scheduled. We have to play it. We might as well win. Isn't that true? Life is scheduled. We might as well win. We have to play it. And let's say that you're going to go from Seattle to Orlando, Florida. This is a long ways across the country there. And you can go through a lot of different ways, all kinds of vehicles. But let's say the vehicle that you chose to go from Seattle to Orlando was this, a battery-powered little scooter. Now, that probably wouldn't be the best vehicle in the world because it's a long ways to Orlando. You probably have to stop and recharge that thing, and it might rain on you. And who knows, it's probably taking you months to get to Orlando taking that vehicle. It wouldn't be a much better choice to fly there, obviously. Fly over the top of those mountains and clouds and get there in 5 hours or so. And it's kind of the same way. If this is you and your destination is financial freedom, the vehicle makes a huge difference. You can have this vehicle over here, a job, which is kind of like that little battery-powered scooter, because that's about how slow it's going to be to get financial freedom, probably never. Or you can choose Nikken and go. That's the vehicle that gets you to financial freedom. And it has been for us and for lots of other people. We've actually officially helped about 45 of our friends become members of Nikken's Millionaires Club. That means they've earned at least $1 million in commissions since they joined the company. And so here's a question for you. Are you willing to spend the same amount of time that most people spend watching television to take advantage of it? Are you? And the 3 things we have control over in this business are this: our attitude, what we say and we do, and our calendar. That's what we can manage. And if your dream is going to come true, it'll be the result of what you decide to do. So don't downgrade your lifestyle, folks. Create your own economic stimulus and upgrade your income with Nikken. And we suggest that you make that decision today. So if you're just watching it for the first time, again, we're not trying to impress you with what we've accomplished. We're just regular folks that were born in regular families. Fortunately, we discovered this wonderful opportunity a long time ago. And that's what it's done for us and many, many other people. So we encourage you to give it to the person that showed you this and grab a hold of this and don't let go and run with it. It'll be an awesome thing. You'll change your life and the lives of thousands of people all over the world. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
That's awesome, Dennis. Can I ask you a quick question?
You bet.
If you're looking at this opportunity as a business person, you built a very large business and we're getting ready to enter Nikken's new era. Do you believe, as someone that's earned up, I think $40 million plus, that makes you an expert? Do you believe that what's about to come will be bigger than, possibly even dwarfing what we've done up to this point? How do you feel about where we're going?
Well, yeah, we think back when we started, we only had half a dozen magnetic products and nobody ever heard of it. And anything that was consumable, and look what happened there. And now we've got all the tools that we have, and the market's wide open. People are more concerned about their health than ever before. Their finances and their health, those are the 2 biggest things. We're just at the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg as to what the potential is and where we're going to go. Awesome.
So I think that you're going to need some bigger walls. What do you think for all your upcoming new millionaires?
Yeah, that'd be good.
You know what's funny, Dennis? I remember when I came into Nikken, we wanted to be on that wall so bad. And even after knowing you now for, decade plus whatever, just seeing that wall and seeing our picture on it actually feels as exciting as the first time we saw it. Yeah. And it's such a big visual when we will walk into your house and see. What's great about Dennis and Ruth, guys, and I can say this about Dave and Valerie also, our Royal Ambassadors are really special. When we walked into the Williams house, and here's people that have accomplished everything you can accomplish, the whole thing they're focused on is their team. and what they've given back. And you can always tell what somebody prizes by what they feature, what they showcase. And it was always interesting to me and meant a lot in your group that the biggest, most honorable spot in your house you dedicated to other people. And I just appreciate all you do and all you've done for us and everybody else, Dennis. And thanks for spending this time with us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you, Rick.
Absolutely. Dave, I want to hear from the other Royal Ambassador just to give us a minute here of thoughts, and I'm going to wrap it up. What do you say, Dave? Are you pretty excited after hearing Dennis tonight? You and I have probably listened to Dennis's presentations how many hundreds of times now? How'd it feel to listen one more time tonight? What do you think?
Well, he sponsored me all over again. I am pumped. In fact, I just went down to the Bay Area, and it was awesome meeting a lot of fellow Nikken people. And I can't help myself. It's become a habit as I took my Uber drive. You know, most of those Uber people are friendly. They like folks, and so it's very easy to get conversation going. Especially the lady coming back. She asked me what I did, and she happened to be a lay minister at her church, and she says, you know, I love bringing in people because I think it's more important than just spiritual thing. You need finances, and you need family, and you need to be healthy, and she mentioned all of the things that basically are the 5 pillars of health, and I'm just smiling, and she says, do you have a card? I'd really be interested. And oh man, you know, if you just get out, you know, unlock the door, get out and see people. We really have something that everybody needs, and nobody has it yet. What Dennis said, and he tells the story so well. Learn the story, and then just tell it often. And look for people who are looking. That's kind of my creed. Is I'm looking for people who are looking for me, and there's so many out there. And also, you know, being a baby boomer, I think you know, I don't want to age gracefully. I want to fight it all the way. And the leading indicator for longevity, other than sleep, is to be anxiously engaged in a good cause, to be socially active. You know, so much of our life is who we love and who loves us. And the best medicine that Nikken has for longevity is the business, you know, doing Nikken as well as using all the products. And so right. Dennis and I, we don't plan to retire. We're just going to keep going, and that'll keep us going. So
well, that's a beautiful thing. Well, in my genealogy, you begat Dennis, and Dennis begat us. So you're Dave Raham, and he's the gospel according to Dennis. He was the one. So you guys, the messenger and the Dave Raham, you guys are that's my genealogy. So I appreciate you guys immensely. You guys are absolutely wonderful, and I can't